Competitive Smash has always had a loser's bracket. If you lose once in the winner's side of the tournament, you can always redeem yourself on the loser's side, but it isn't easy. In fact, it's twice as hard. If you win once in winners, you advance twice as many spots in the bracket as you do in losers. So it's super important that you don't lose early to have the best chance of placing well at a tournament. Losing early is a staple for some players and making some crazy losers run brackets. But other players aren't as good at making that losers run quite like some. It sets up the most exciting and memorable stories that Smash has to offer. Today, let's dive into some of the most known losers runs and see which is the greatest of all time. There have been many losers runs in the past, but what makes one so good? It mostly comes down to how many wins were taken, who was beat, and sometimes who it is. For example, there are two extremely similar losers runs happening at the Super Bowl of Smash tournament's Genesis. The infamous Genesis 3 losers run, known as one of the best losers runs of all time, Mango lost in winners quarterfinals, which is a top 8 qualifier, where he went into the losers bracket where he beat Plup to make top 8, and the next day, he went on a tear beating everyone in his path to make it all the way to the grand finals. Now, let's compare a not as popular losers run to talk about, though it was just as impressive. At Genesis 6, Axe lost to S2J in the round before winners quarterfinals, where we had to beat 3 players just to make top 8, then ended up defeating everyone in his path to make it to the grand finals as well. This was really worth talking about, as this was Axe's first time almost winning a major, which he had yet to do at the time. Everyone was rooting for him to finally take it. Genesis, Super Bowl of Smash events, same tournament series, very impressive losers run, but one is way more talked about than the other. Mango's run is always more mentioned than Axe's. Remember how I said who it is? This matters a lot, as Mango is the most popular Melee player. He has a legacy of losers runs, and Genesis was known as his and Armada's tournament. Genesis 1, Mango won. Genesis 2, the outsider Armada won, and it was bound for Mango and Armada to meet in the grand finals of Genesis 3. Mango was on a bit of a down streak as well, and everyone wanted to see it play out. This was their event to play for the tiebreaker. Mango even had a bracket reset in grand finals. Axe had more wins, but Mango had a legacy to defend. If Axe had won the tournament and had his first major win, especially at a super major, this would be a different story. But that's the type of criteria people want to see when discussing the greatest losers run of all time. Before we get into some of the best contentions for what is the GOAT losers run, let's go over some honorable mentions. Hungrybox at the Big House 7. He lost to Leffen in winners semifinals and then went through the Fox Gauntlet to take it home, beating Mewtwo King, Armada, Leffen in the rematch, and Plup twice, stopping his Cinderella run of beating Armada for the first time in almost his first major win.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Hungrybox!
And Hungrybox closes it out. And
What
he is
a
your Big
killer.
House champion.
Mewtwo King at UGC Smash Open. He lost to None in the round before winners quarters, then beating Duck, Mango, then Ice to make top 8, then in top 8, going through SFAT, None in the rematch, Leffen, Hungrybox, and even getting a reset in grand finals, where he was eventually stopped by Armada.
Damn. That was a hell of a run, though.
He played his ass off.
He did.
Mango at Press Start, where he showed up 45 minutes late to his pool. He was disqualified from the winner's bracket and sent immediately to the loser's side, where he beat Jace, Westballs, Hacks, Leffen, Shroomed, Lucky, Hungrybox, Axe, then Flyomanita twice to win it all.
Yeah, Mango can do no wrong. And there it is. Congratulations to Cloud9's own Mango.
Armada at EVO 2018. He lost to Swedish Delight, being the first time in 6 years a top 6 player in the world hasn't beaten him. Armada then went through Mewtwo King, Zane, S2J, Mango, Hungrybox, Plup, and was finally defeated by Leffen in grand finals.
Armada has no shield. Armada has no Leffen!
Mango at Summit 11. Mango lost to Plup in winners quarterfinals, and all hope seemed to be lost on him. He then went on a tear, beating Moki, None, Cody Schwab, Plup, Hungrybox, and Zane twice in a Game 10 last stock grand finals reset.
Zane dropping the punish.
That's it. He got the jump. Mango takes it.
Mango winning his first ever Smash Summit.
The last honorable mention is Cody Schwab at Genesis 9. He lost to Moki in winners quarterfinals, made top 8 by beating Amsa, who was on a Fox Tear losers run. Cody then beat Toussaint, Zane, Plup, Moki, and in the rematch before burning out to J-Mook in Grands.
That might have been it.
Now there have been some nuts losers runs in Melee, but there's only 4 to be considered the greatest losers runs of all time. Mango at Pound 3, Mango at EVO 2013, Mango at Genesis 3, and Cody Schwab at the Big House 11. Mango having most of the best known losers runs in all of Melee. Mango even helped claim his GOAT status by having such wild runs from the losers bracket, and of course with his massive fan base, there are always people cheering for Mango to win. I personally have only ever heard Mango be cheered against, which was at the Big House 10 Grand Finals. Mango made a ton of these runs and has stabled himself in the community as a god due to many of his losers runs in the past, but we haven't seen very many of them in recent time. Whenever Mango loses on the winner's side, he's kind of given up as of late, going secondaries, like at Battle of BC5 and the LACS Championship in 2023. This was his break year for Melee, so hopefully we can see some losers runs in the future. Cody Schwab, on the other hand, is the new age losers run player, as he is one of the contenders for the best losers runs of all time. Let's take a look at our first contender, Pound 3. Pound 3 was a 2008 major with many of the top talent in attendance taking place during Melee's earlier years. Mango was just coming up onto the scene during a Mewtwo King reigning period. Everyone fell to the feet of Mewtwo King at this time, as he was the unstoppable god winning every tournament easily, and coming from the East Coast, they were seen as the better part of the United States Melee region. Mango, coming from the West Coast, had only really ever been on the come up, and he definitely wasn't favored to win the tournament. He and a few SoCal friends flew for the first or one of the first times for a Smash tournament. Mango made it out of pool play, but lost to his first round opponent being Silent Wolf. Mango didn't even go his main character and did Link Ditto's vs Silent Wolf, where he lost. At the biggest tournament, he was messing around and not taking the bracket serious, putting a lot of smiles on the East Coaster faces, thinking Mango wasn't the real deal that he was being hyped up to be. From there, he was in the losers bracket, where he would need to beat everyone in his path to win. Mango won his main character and didn't look back, winning 10 sets in a row to win the entire tournament. He beat 5 out of the top 10 players in the world during his run, cementing himself as one of the best players in the world over a dominant Mewtwo King. This really kickstarted Mango's career, and many consider this the best losers run of all time, going through all of the East Coast best players to win the entire tournament, really shifting many to believe that the West Coast to be the better region and the beginning of Mango's dominance in the Smash community. I would normally call this the GOAT losers run myself, but with a lot more runs in the mix now, let's take a look at the other 3 contenders. Our next run is EVO 2013. EVO is known to be the most prestigious fighting game tournament of the year. Smash was on their roster in 2007, but was taken off shortly after. In 2013, Melee had a fighting chance to be back at EVO, which would be huge for the community, as it could get a lot more eyes in the game and could really push it to the next level. After a huge bidding war against the Skullgirls community for donating money for breast cancer, Melee's community raised $94,000 to allow their game to be played at EVO that year. What was already an exciting event, upsets were happening left and right. Smash players were so excited to have Melee on such a grand stage, but the top seed of the tournament was sent to losers early from the winners quarterfinals. Mango lost to Wobbles in a huge upset. Many saw Mango winning the tournament, but not from the losers bracket, where he got redemption on a lot of top players who had been beating him as of late, especially Armada. This is quite the run, as he truly went through the top 3 out of the 5 best players in the world to take home the tournament. With so much excitement happening and the legacy Melee had as of... Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that Nintendo tried to shut down this entire tournament, and there's definitely a world where this bracket didn't happen. But there was a lot riding on the line, and the most popular player won the biggest tournament at the time, allowing for one of the greatest losers runs of all time. Next, we'll be going over the tournament Genesis 3. Having a legacy since the beginning, a huge super major tournament where every one of the top players attends in hopes to win the biggest event of the year. Mango won the first Genesis, Armada won the second one, and they were set on a collision course to be in grand finals for Genesis 3. Everyone wanted to see it. I was even dying to see it since Genesis 3 was my first major, especially since the tournament series went on a hiatus for 5 years. Genesis 2 happened where an outsider of the United States finally took home a major. Mango wanted to get his rematch. The stage is set. Genesis is finally happening, and Melee is an all-time high with viewership, attendees, and skill. The game has never been harder. Armada does his job and makes top 8 as the first seed of the tournament. Mango, having a slump couple of years, was hoping to do the same, but ended up falling short and losing to Axe in winners quarterfinals. Many were crushed as they knew Mango would have to go through one of the hardest brackets to date to get to grand finals to face Armada. Making top 8 in style, it set the tone for top 8 Sunday the next day, where Mango entered his Neo mode again, winning some nail-biter sets just to make it to grand finals and the opportunity to play Armada for their 2 out of 3 set for Genesis. Mango even ends up resetting the bracket, but Armada, being the Terminator he was, wins the next set and taking home a huge victory. But most eyes were on Mango as he pulled off such a great run with some insane plot armor on his side, taking out Plup, Nintendude, PPMD, Axe, and then Hungrybox in a Game 5 butt clencher. Mango even said his biggest rival Hungrybox even wanted to see Mango Armada Grand Finals.
I think even HBox a little bit in his heart wanted Mango Armada.
I don't know about that one, dog. People in the audience created an electric environment. There was crying, cheering, and overall a fantastic tournament. It really was one of the greatest losers runs of all time. Going into our last contender, we have the Big House 11. As mentioned earlier, Cody Schwab has been the new losers run player. With Mango going secondaries after he loses in tournaments, we haven't really had a Mango losers run in quite a while. Cody, on the other hand, has been absolutely taking over, not only in the losers run side of Melee, but the community as a whole, being ranked #1 in the world for 2023. Cody even had quite the run at Genesis 9 this past year as said earlier, but it showed he had the potential to pull off a win from the loser's side. This year, Cody really got his bearings and it showed being the #1 player for the first time. He spent a lot of time on his mentality towards the game and it paid off as he looked almost unstoppable at some tournaments. October 2023 was Big House 11, possibly the most stacked tournament of all time. Only 3 out of the top 25 players in the world weren't in attendance and all of the top 10 were there. Leffen ended up dropping out later on, but this was the first time all year that everyone was present at a major. It was looking like standard stuff at a tournament, except both the #1 and 2 seed were down bad in the beginning of top 64. Zayn went down 0-2 to up-and-comer Ossify, but brought it back, and Cody was down to 34 seed Morse Code, but couldn't squeak it out. Cody's been known to have a bit of a Samus problem even at the top, but after he lost to Morse Code, he went on an absolute tear. He won 11 sets in a row to win the entire tournament. Especially for this day and age of Melee, this is unheard of with how good people are at the game now. But Cody did it at possibly the hardest bracket in history. He beat 6 out of the top 10 players in the world during this run. At a major, it was tied for most sets won from the loser's bracket to win it all, being from Pound 3 when Mango won. Based on every great losers run in the history of Melee, which one is the greatest of all time though? Now that we know the background from every run, I feel like we can categorize them a bit better. EVO 2013 and Genesis 3 have some amazing background, but don't quite have as many wins in comparison to the other 2 runs we've been talking about. I think they can be tied for 3rd place as the best runs of all time. EVO 2013, Mango got the win, but Genesis had such a better storyline and build up behind it. Mango really had to go through everyone to give the people what they wanted. But going back to EVO, it had Nintendo trying to shut us down when we were finally in the spotlight. I'm pretty confident at putting them at a tie as each run had some amazing storyline to it, and I don't think many people could argue that these are some great runs, and having them at 3rd is a fair spot. Our top 2 contenders are Mango at Pound 3 and Cody Schwab at the Big House 11. These are the biggest tournaments at each time, being one from the loser's bracket where the player lost in winners round 1 of top 64 and came all the way back through the loser side to win the entire tournament, with most if not all the best players in the world in attendance. But which one was more impressive, memorable, and overall better to be considered the GOAT losers run? Looking at Mango's run, while it was super impressive to lose that early and to bring it all the way back, I want to bring up a point from someone who is at both tournaments. Hugs, a used to be top player, now commentator, has a really good thought I'd like to share.
But the funny thing is, the only reason Mango's run is in contention with Cody's is because Mango fucked around in winners and decided to go link to end up in losers, right? He just very easily dominated winners, so he should have never been a loser. So what we would be doing is saying, wow, that was a really great Mango win, instead of calling it a big losers run.
Sure. Okay.
But he decided to fuck around, whereas Cody wasn't fucking around. He just ended up in losers and then did what it took to make it back.
Like Hug said, Mango shouldn't have been in the losers bracket to begin with, but what about Cody when he lost to the 34th seed at the Big House as the 2nd seed? Many believe this to be a more legitimate loss as Cody has had a Samus problem in recent years, but both players were going their mains and really trying to win at all cost. At Pound 3, Mango and Silent Wolf both didn't go their mains, and they may have been trying their best, but not going their main characters puts it into question. This was a long time ago, all the way back in 2008. There wasn't much prize money in comparison to today. There were no sponsors, and there wasn't even esports. So it was different times back then, as the only thing you were really fighting for was the pride you had as a player and wanting to win for your region. But if that was just as important, and seeing the dominance Mango had on the Melee scene at the time, I agree with Hugs that Mango shouldn't have been in the losers bracket to begin with. Cody Schwab has been a top 2 player in the world and has been losing to several good Samus players. Not top 10 players, but good competitors in their own right. And they've had Cody's number for quite a bit now, so Cody's run seems more legit. We also have to factor the skill level of players during each time period. After Pound 3, Mango dominated the Melee scene and was indisputably the best player in the world. Mango even got bored of winning and created an alter ego called Scorpion Master and started going Mario, and he still kept up with the best players below him while they went their mains. Cody just achieved the #1 player in the world, but it was so close. it came down to one best of 10 match to see who got it. Cody was tied with Zayn for the best player in the world, down to the set count, game count, major win count, you name it. My point is, the skill level of players is different now than back then. With the introduction of Slippy, better controllers, and UCF, Melee couldn't be an easier game to pick up, and the skill gap has gotten even bigger from the casual player to one of the best in the world. Melee has never been harder. With that, Cody went through 11 sets during a time where Melee is at a peak of skill level. In 2008, it was there too, but the game has evolved to where it's only been harder to win. Back in earlier times, there were way less scenarios where someone who was unheard of taking sets off of top players. Only top 10 players basically beat top 10 players, and that was it. Upsets were a lot more rare, so the overall field has gotten a lot stronger in comparison, which shows that beating more players in today's age is a lot more impressive, making Cody Schwab's run the greatest losers runs of all time. Plus, during a tougher period to be good at Melee, Cody beat 6 top 10 players in the world during his run, where Mango only beat 5. People don't want to give it to Cody as he isn't as popular as some of the other top players. If Mango, Zayn, Jmook, or even Leffen did this run, it would be hands down the GOAT run 100%. Especially if Mango did it because he's so popular. It mostly came down to Melee is such a harder game now than it was back then, with a lot more on the line. For players like Mango and Hungrybox to still be top players for that long is absolutely insane. But I give it to Cody for having the GOAT losers run. If you disagree, I'd love to see some fighting in the comments below. Bye!